All right, well, we're going to do a little bit of a different video this week. If you're a regular watcher of my channel, thank you, by the way. So grateful for you. But if you're a regular watcher of my channel, you know you don't usually see my face. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I don't think I'm that interesting to look at, okay? I think wood is a lot more interesting than me to look at, right? Okay, second reason is I figure if you have to be looking at me, you probably also want to be listening to me, right? You want to hear me explain something or walk you through something. And the thing is, I talk for a living. Most of you don't know this, but I'm a pastor, and so most of my work life revolves around speaking and helping people follow Jesus. So on my day off, I don't usually want to talk, so I don't usually talk in these videos. But I just did a video that was a review for a laser engraver that I was asked to take a look at, and so I talked on that, and I kind of maybe broke the barrier a little bit for me, and I thought, you know what, let's do a little bit of a different video this week. So let's get after it. Okay, so I picked up this piece of walnut from Austin Hardwoods in Denver. They're not sponsoring this video, but I wanted to give them a shout out because they're such a great company. They were super nice to me when I was new to woodworking and did not understand all the terms, like the fact that this is 10-4, meaning it is 10 quarters or 2.5 inches, which seems like an odd way to measure lumber, but it is the way it's done in the industry. And when I didn't know that and I had to go in and ask questions, they didn't treat me like I was stupid for having to ask what they thought was a basic question. So love Austin Hardwoods. It's one of the few suppliers of good hardwood like this in the Denver market. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take this piece of wood, which cost me about $87, and I'm going to see how much money I can make from it. Now, my plan is to just make bowls, so I'm going to see how many bowls I can get out of this. It's almost exactly 8 inches, and overall, it is just a little bit more than 36 inches. So at 8 inches wide, I can do 32 inches to get 4 bowls out of this. So we're going to get about 4 bowls out of it. Might get a couple of little pieces, maybe some tiny bowls. I'm not sure about that. We'll see. Okay, I got my stop block set up here at 8 inches. Going to cut this down into squares. All right, I think we probably got enough to get a couple more little boxes out of this. We're right at 8 inches, so do a cut right there around 4. Okay, next step is to find center, so use my handy dandy little center finder. This actually works really well both for square pieces, but also for round pieces. Okay, what I like to do at this point is use a little punch to put a little divot right there in the center. Okay, so now we're just going to use a compass to draw a circle on all these. Okay, one of the questions I get a lot from beginning wood turners is, do I have to cut the corners off of my blank before I put it on the lathe? And the answer is no, you don't, but it is a lot easier. You absolutely can turn a blank with hard edges, but what you're going to have to do is get it up a little bit faster than you might be ready for. It might be a little lopsided when you first get it on, but you got to go pretty fast to be able to get those turned off. The other thing that can happen is sometimes you get chipping when you got a big corner like this, sometimes you'll get large pieces that fly off, and sometimes that can even happen down into the piece itself. So I just like to cut the corners off before I get it mounted. All right, so I've got 4 of these and 2 of the smaller ones. Next step is to mount these onto the lathe. Now, there's several ways to do that. One of the common ways of doing that is to use a plate. So you're going to fix a plate on there, and then the plate just screws into the spindle of your lathe. The problem with that is that it involves, first, you got to pre-drill a bunch of holes, and you got to put the screws in, and then when you're ready to flip it over, you got to take all those out. But because I have so many of these to do, and I'm trying to work as quickly as possible, I am going to try using a Forstner bit. I'm going to use a Forstner bit to basically drill a temporary mortise right there. Then I'll mount the chuck into that hole. I'll turn another mortise at the top. This will actually end up being the bottom of the bowl because I can finish it then. So this is actually a temporary mortise. And then I'll be able to do what I need to do, flip it over, and then I'll cut past this temporary mortise and hollow out the bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the drill press and drill a bunch of temporary mortises. All right, let's get the first one mounted. Get the chuck on there. Close it up. Okay, we're mounted. Let's see how stable this is. Not too bad. Okay, going to be using a carbide turning bit to round these off. And I'm going to put on my breathing mask and my face shield and get to rounding. Okay, let's shape the bowl. For this, I'm going to be using a traditional gouge, and going to be carving away this. This will be the bottom. Probably leave a little bit of a rim here. That's the design I'm thinking. We'll see how it goes. Okay, time for everybody's least favorite part of wood turning. It is time for sanding. Now, whenever you can sand with a drill, it is a lot faster, and since this shape will completely allow me to do that, I'm going to use the drill. I'm going to be starting with 120 grit. There's some tear out right here that I need to cut through. It could get out to an 80, but I think 120 with a drill will probably be fine. So let's get at it. I'm not going to show you all the sanding. That's extremely boring, but I will keep track of the time I spend on it so that I can add up the time at the end of this video. Okay, we have got it all sanded to 320. Got to give a little blast of air, get some of that loose stuff out. Hit it with some rubbing alcohol. It's always kind of fun. You get a little bit of a glimpse of what it's going to look like when we're all done and a finish has been applied. Yeah, it's going to be pretty. All right, next step is to take it off, flip it around. Get it locked in there. Get it hollowed out. I always like to start with the center tailstock in place. Just gives it a little more stability when we start hollowing out. We'll have to pull it out when we finalize it, but that'll get us started. Okay, time for the best part. We're going to put a finish on it. I'm going to use Macy's Place wood butter. Not sponsored by them, but I just really like the product. I think it has great natural tone, but also just creates a great smooth finish. Feels great to the touch. Actually feels a little buttery. So I'm just going to rub this in very liberally, and then we'll turn off the excess once we've got this in all of the pores. That's a nice grain. All right, just taking off the excess. I'm not treating this like a friction polish, so I'm not going real fast. And I'm not adding anything to it because I don't want layers. Just taking off the excess. Nice little chatoyance there. You see the changing color. It looks like it's getting brighter. That is not because the lighting is different. That is the way the light is reacting to the wood itself. That's called chatoyance, and it's always a nice feature to have. All right, one bowl done. Okay, not quite done. I've got to do the bottom of this. Just take a quick second. We'll add a little bit of wood butter to the inside of this. Get it off those edges. Make sure we get the whole bottom coated in the stuff. Flip the cloth around. Wipe off the excess. All right, now it's done. Okay, well, we have a bowl. Simple, elegant, very beautiful grain. This will sell pretty nicely, and so I just have to do this exact same thing 3 more times, and then we've got the 2 small ones to make as well. I'm going to show making the small one real quick, but then I'm not going to make you watch making the other 3, but then I'll add up all the time when we're done, and we'll see what we got. Okay, let's talk about what we've got, what it took to get us here, and what we can probably get for this. Obviously, we have 6 bowls, 2 very tiny bowls, and then 4 larger bowls. The larger bowls are about 7 3/4 inches across. They're 2 1/4 inches tall. They all have slightly different profiles. That's a very basic profile. These are a little bit more interesting, I think. 2 of those kind of shape, and then there's one with a little bit more of a sharper edge right there. So did a little research. Bowls of about this size are selling on Etsy. Pretty big range, honestly. They run from $55 all the way up to $105. I think $105 is way too expensive for something like that. I think these are probably worth $65, maybe $70. Let's say $70. They may not be worth quite that. I think 65, they'll sell. 70, yeah, they'll probably sell. We'll go $70. So 4 of those at 70, that makes $280. And then we've got these little guys. Now, there are some small walnut bowls on Etsy. A little hard to figure out what they're gonna go for though. Basically, this runs anywhere from $15 to $30, and again, I think $30 is absurd. I bet I can probably get $20 for each of these in the right situation. So we'll call it 2 at 20, which is another $40. So we've got 280 plus $40 puts us at $320. Now, okay, so we've got $320 worth of pieces here. Now there was $87 in lumber and maybe $1 in finishing materials that went into this. So $88 in material costs. 320 minus 88 is $232 net, we'll call it. So 232. Okay, so we got $232 in net proceeds. Now, I worked for 3 hours and 42 minutes actually turning everything. Let's call it 4 hours even, because that's much easier math. That works out to $58 an hour. That's not bad money. Yeah, you're not going to get rich at it, but it's not bad money for the work. I enjoyed the work. This is fun. I'm creating art, and if I can also make $58 an hour doing that, not bad at all. So can you make money wood turning? Absolutely. Are you going to get rich? Probably not. But if you like the work, you absolutely can do work that will pay for itself and then kind of keep you in more materials and maybe even tools. And honestly, at a certain point, you've got all the tools you're going to need. What am I talking about? You're never going to have all the tools you need. It's never going to happen. But you have all the tools you have to have anyway. And at that point, it's much more profitable. And yeah, $58 an hour, that's not bad money, right? All right, hope you enjoyed this video. If this was helpful or useful to you, I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. Please make sure you like it. Feel free to comment. Love to hear your questions in the comment section. And as always, if it's useful, feel free to share it with somebody else. That really helps me out in the algorithm. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching all the way to this point. I'm really grateful for you, and I'll see you next week.